My name is Jayne and I currently have general depression. I also have a general anxiety disorder and panic attacks. I wish I had gotten help sooner, and I really wish that my 20s would have been a lot easier for everybody around me, including myself, if I had been diagnosed earlier. And I would have been university would have been a much pleasanter experience, than I had. A lot of people were just saying, oh, it's just being a frosh. It's just, you'll get over it. Everybody feels homesick. And I was like, oh, I don't think this is homesick. This isn't camp. Like, this feels a lot different. And I was recommended to see somebody on campus, and unfortunately, the therapist just didn't have the tools to kind of diagnose somebody, whether it was my age or whether it was kind of the complex, things that I had going on. And she ended up crying in a couple of my sessions, and here I felt like I had to lie or say something different to make her feel better. And at the end of the day, as a 20-year-old, 19-year-old, I just wasn't equipped to really think, wow, this maybe isn't the right person to help me. I was then recommended to see somebody, a specialist, about it. And it was a time when people were very readily handing out Prozac for everything. So I waited 9 weeks to see this specialist. He wrote me a script for Prozac. He's like, everybody your age is on it. You're just going through something that everybody in their 20s goes through. And I was like, oh, that's great. I'll be fixed in a couple days. And it didn't work out. So clearly that was another failed attempt at getting help. So it really took kind of a real crisis for me to really reach out to I started seeing this family doctor, and her realizing that I needed to be diagnosed with the conditions that I have. It was when I was at Ryerson, I actually was in contact with I guess it's a psychological department for the university. And I had a great intern that worked there. So for her reaching out on my behalf and helping me by giving me, okay, these are the things you need to say, these are the things you need to clear up, and I can write you a note if you need it. Like, just being there in that support and kind of starting me on the path to advocate for myself and being kind of more honest about what was happening with me. Because before that, it was just like, oh, I've been sick. Oh, I don't feel good today. I can't hand in that project because something happened. And, I think she kind of gave me confidence that it's okay to step up and say, I've got depression and I'm seeing somebody about it, and I kind of need some extra help, or I need some kind of different allowances for what I hand in and what I need in my student life here. I found that of the specialists that I did see, I kept coming back to my regular doctor for just general everything, but also for therapy as I needed it. And I think she also gave me that option that I could pick up when I needed it most. So if, I might go a year or 2 years without having kind of a crisis situation where I felt like I needed that extra help. And then when I did need it, she was very responsive about getting me in right away and starting to give me some regular office time. And she took a lot of time to really talk to me as a whole person, and not just somebody who was maybe suffering from a mental condition or mental illness, and looking at how that impacted my entire life and how that might be scary for someone like me, who's a mom, who's a parent, who is a wife, and who might feel in these situations that I was going to die. And she really took the time to help me find some soft skills on how to work through some of that, and how to be able to live day to day and to look after the people in my life, and kind of giving me an awareness of what's happening physiologically with me and also like mentally with me, so that I can kind of see when those things happen that I'm like, at least I'm able also to tell my partner, like, hey, when I start acting like this is usually what's gonna happen next, and that's been great in our marriage, just so that he's able to predict and help me cope with, when I'm in a crisis situation. And, it was very important for me, as a mother who's very involved with my children, that my downtime away from them when I wasn't really fit to be looking after them was minimized, right? And I want them to be aware of what may happen with me, but I also want them to feel secure knowing that, my husband and I as a team, we make sure that their needs are always looked after. And I think my doctor took that very seriously, that she knew that was a priority for me, so that really helped her understanding about that. I think for me, and when you're in an acute situation where you're actually going through something like an anxiety attack or a panic attack, it's being treated like it's serious. And for somebody who's going through it, you actually feel that you might be dying or you might be having a heart attack. And I've been in situations where people have said, oh, don't worry, it's just a panic attack. And while that's, a good case scenario, the bad case is you still feel like you're going through something pretty severe, like a heart attack or something like that. So I think people responding in that situation need to kind of understand that it's a double-edged sword, where it's a good thing that you're not maybe dying of a heart attack, but it's also a very scary thing that you think you are. So it's that being sensitive of that and realizing that a crisis situation is just crisis, and being that warm blanket and kind of helping them see through that fog and being just that kind of supportive listener, and also somebody that can help you kind of reset, so that when you're in that crisis situation, helping you bring yourself down to a place where you can have a conversation about what's actually happening. When you work in a situation like an ER or a first responder, where time is of the essence and there's a lot of other people that have to be seen, those kind of skills of kind of bringing you out of that fog or bringing you out of that kind of crisis moment is very critical, and I think. And while you're going to be okay, there's also something long-term that needs to be dealt with. And it's not just something that, you'll be fine tomorrow and you're going to wake up and it's all going to be okay. Even if they can't do it, like finding you a path for you to get that help, I think is important.